Simon Dash Square over it. Yes, it is. I just haven't heard what the one is. Westbound 118 from the 5. (118) at Sepulveda. We are in the Mission Hills area. Passing the 405 on the 118. I don't know what the one actually. They say he's wearing like a reflective construction vest, so perhaps not. It's a stolen? Yeah, thank you. Westbound 118 at Woodley. That car merging next to him has no idea that this vehicle is being pursued. I mean, why would you? It's so infrequent that we see a big rig in a pursuit. I'm trying to take a look at the driver. I did notice he is wearing some sort of reflective vest. You can kind of tell with the infrared. Westbound 118 at Tampa, we're entering Porter Ranch. That's where it started? Thank you. Thank you. This pursuit started northbound on the 5 at the 110, so very close to Dodger Stadium. Believed to be a stolen big rig. Perfect, thank you. West Valley units are taking over, so that's West Valley CHP. Thank you, Jack. And thank you to everyone who is joining us online. I'm Eliana Moreno in News Chapter 4 Alpha, along with my pilot, Saro Garabetian. And we are over a police pursuit of the big rig that you see there in the center of the screen. This is on the westbound 118 freeway at Topanga Canyon. We're in the western end of the San Fernando Valley, getting into the Santa Susana Pass here in just a moment. Going to be entering areas like Simi Valley if he continues in this direction. But essentially, this is a CHP that is in pursuit of this big rig, a pursuit that started very close to Dodger Stadium on the northbound 5 freeway near the 110 freeway. We got overhead when it was at the 5 at the 170 in the Pacoima area, and officers believe that this vehicle is stolen. Now, when the actual theft occurred, that is unclear to us at this time, but the driver is described as a male who is wearing some sort of reflective safety vest, and when I pushed in earlier, I could definitely see that that is what he is wearing. Whether there is anybody else in the vehicle, though, that is still unclear. But we're heading here into the Santa Susana Pass. It is a 53-foot white trailer that is behind this white cab here on the westbound side of the 118 freeway. Before getting on the 118, though, he was on the 5, so he was just exclusively on the northbound 5 since the pursuit began, and then he made that transition onto the westbound 118 where we find ourselves now at Rocky Peak. So entering Simi Valley here in just a moment. Thank you, Sarah. So Saro is listening to what the police helicopter is saying, and he's relaying the information to me, and he had heard that they were talking about possibly deploying spike strips at some point, but they have since decided not to do that, at least not yet, because they were planning on doing it somewhere near this area, but they have decided not to do it now. In terms of a pit maneuver, we always talk about that when we talk about pursuits, right? That's not going to happen today because this vehicle is simply just too big. There is no vehicle in any police department that is going to be able to do a pit maneuver on a big rig. So for that reason, they are not even going to try it. They can't try it. It would just simply be too dangerous, and it would be completely ineffective. So for that reason, the pit maneuver is out of the question. But spike strips, they're not out of the question yet. They're just not going to try them now. So westbound here, 118 at Rocky Peak, entering Simi, and now more park units of the CHP are going to be entering the chase. And pardon me there while I fix my roll real quick as we come through the pass. I'm going to tell you also how many units of the CHP are behind this car. I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see if there's anyone behind them. Nope, just 6 units of the CHP. One of them is trailing behind a little bit further. That's the one that's running the traffic brake there in the back for any other commuters that are coming in the direction that this pursuit is heading. So you can see it is slowing down traffic just a touch there on the westbound side of the 118 as this pursuit makes its way through the Santa Susana Pass, entering Simi Valley. Now, in terms of his driving, you see the speeds there about 50 miles an hour. I've seen him go as high as 65, but really hasn't been going much faster than that. Of course, this is a very large vehicle. It's difficult to go at any speeds faster than this, especially when you're driving uphill like this as he's coming through the pass. So speed is really not going to be a factor with this chase. Of course, the vehicle, though, believed to be stolen, so it's unclear if that person used any sort of weapon when they stole this vehicle, or if the vehicle was just left running and they hopped in. At that point, those are just questions that we still have to get answers to, because at this point, what we have been told is that the vehicle is stolen. The pursuit started near the 5 and the 110 freeway, which is near Dodger Stadium. So that would have been the black units of the CHP. That's the central division of the CHP. And then from there, it moved on to the brown frequency, which would be like the agencies that would cover the Sun Valley, Pacoima, Arleta areas, also anything along the 210 freeway. It would be the Altadena agencies. But now we have moved over to the west side of the San Fernando Valley, so we had the West Valley units join the pursuit, and now they're going to be handing it over to the Moore Park units here shortly. There it is. Cool. I had to take a moment there because the CHP actually changed scanner frequencies on me there, because what happens is as the pursuit moves on the freeways here, different parts of the CHP can take over the pursuit. So it was like the color system that I was just explaining. It started with the black, moved over to the brown, then the blue, and we moved over to the CHP teal, and now we're on the CHP purple Ventura County frequency. So I just had to quickly move the scanner over so that I can continue to listen to what the officers are saying as this pursuit continues here on the westbound 118 freeway, the Ronald Reagan freeway here in Simi Valley. Approaching Topo Canyon here on the 118 west. I'm hearing negative spikes, so they're not trying spike strips. As I said before, they're also not going to try the pit maneuver. So at this point, if we really have to analyze what their options are, having him just run out of fuel would be a good one. Maybe just purple. Having him just run out of fuel would be a good one, because sorry, I was just listening to some information there on the scanner. They were talking about what may be in the trailer, so I was trying to figure out if they knew what type of contents are in the back. But as I was saying before, what the options really are just getting him to run out of fuel or getting him to simply stop. But some of the traditional pit maneuver techniques and even spike strips may not be effective in a situation like this. Number 3 lane here on the westbound 118 approaching Topo Canyon in Simi. And for the most part, it seems like he's staying over towards either the middle or the right of the freeway. We haven't seen him much on the number 1 or the number 2 lane, or a carpool when there was a carpool. Okay, so he's coming up to some smaller vehicles here, some just regular commuter vehicles. So CHP has been really great about running a traffic brake behind this guy so that no other vehicles can get next to him or in front of him. But in this case, there were already vehicles up ahead, so that's why we're seeing a situation like this where there are other cars directly next to him. But ideally, considering the size of this vehicle, it would be best to just stay clear and keep all of the other vehicles away from him, because it's really unclear what this person is capable of or what their mindset may be. But what we do know is that this is believed to be a stolen trailer with one male driver inside who is wearing some sort of reflective vest. And it was originally the CHP who spotted the vehicle. They tried to pull it over on the northbound 5 freeway near the 110. So that's very close to Dodger Stadium in the Elysian Park area. And it made its way on the northbound 5 freeway, passing by the 2 freeway, the 134, and eventually the 170 before getting onto the westbound 118, which is where we find ourselves now here on the westbound 118 freeway in Simi Valley. Now the sheriff's airship is actually the one that is overhead, and that's LA County Sheriff. So it's actually sheriffs in the air, CHP on the ground. But that airship said about 10 to 15 minutes ago, he said he had about 50 minutes left of fuel, which means that he should be getting replaced here soon by another airship. It would make sense for it to be CHP, considering that it is a CHP chase. But CHP comes out of Fullerton Airport, so it's unclear where they're at this time, but ideally they would want to get replaced by a CHP helicopter, considering that this is a CHP chase. Five minutes, thank you. Okay, so the airship is going to leave in about 5 minutes. So what I'm hearing on the scanner is that they're asking the officers to clear the traffic around the big rig because they don't want any other vehicles around the car. It, of course, is a very large vehicle. You don't know what this person is possibly capable of. And at the same time, you also don't want other vehicles to intervene. That is something we often see in pursuits where regular civilians try and be helpful by getting involved. But in a situation like this, that is not helpful whatsoever, especially when you're dealing with a vehicle of this weight. It's just simply too dangerous. So at this point, they're just asking for the officers to try to clear all of the vehicles surrounding the vehicle and it actually seems like he may be hitting his brakes here for the first time. I haven't seen him do that before, and he seems to be slowing down just a touch. I wonder if perhaps he's at an incline. But there you go, there's the spike strip. So actually that CHP officer who was off to the side deployed the spike, and I'm hearing it was a good spike. So that was at Madera Road. The CHP officer there that you saw on the bottom of the screen deployed a spike strip, and we are hearing good spike. Now, these big rigs have a lot of tires, and the spike strip isn't just going to cause the vehicle to come to a complete stop. It will cause those tires to slowly deflate. So eventually, it will come to a stop. So the officers are saying that even though it appears that he ran over the spike strip, it does not appear to be affecting the vehicle. And that was just exactly what I was referring to. Even though he ran him over, it's not going to cause the tires to just explode and to bring the vehicle to a stop. It will slowly deflate those tires, and eventually it'll just be too much for the tires to support the weight of the vehicle, and then you will see the vehicle come to a stop some way or another. But for now, he should be able to still continue on for a little bit. Of course, unless he just decides to come to a stop. But he's been trying to evade the police now for quite a while. This is a pursuit that started in the Elysian Park area, and now we are in Moore Park in Ventura County. I'm starting to see a little bit of smoke there. He just lost a tire. So that little puff of smoke that we saw was him losing a tire. There goes another one. You see it rolling. There it is in the bottom of the screen. It's a little bit difficult to see because it's pretty dark out here, but I just saw him lose one of the front tires. So we know he's lost at least two. Let's see if we see any more. $23, you think? Yeah, because the 118 freeway ends at the 23. Unless he just stops or gets off the freeway. I was just discussing with Sarah where we think he's going to go next. So really his only option would be the 23 freeway because the 118 freeway does come to an end. But he has the option of just exiting or just coming to a stop on the freeway. The driver keeps honking his horn, and that is per the scanner traffic. I, of course, can't hear it, but that is what the officers are relaying across the scanner, is that the driver keeps honking his horn. 118 Freeway at Los Angeles Avenue here in Moore Park. Slow speed, about 40 miles an hour. And you can see some of the smoke there from those front tires. And we're gonna start seeing sparks, folks, because he lost at least one of those front tires. We saw it go flying. Yeah, the tires are starting to break up. You see it there. If you look at the driver's side front tire, it is gone. And that is why we're seeing all of that smoke there. Yeah. Hard to tell if that rim is spinning. It's got to be, yeah. But he is transitioning here from the westbound 118 to the 23 south. So one of the questions that the dispatch center for this trucking company is being asked by the officers is how much gas did this big rig have when everything started? Because then that gives them a good idea of how long this is going to go for, because this is a pursuit that started in Elysian Park. We're all the way in Moore Park now, but who knows how long he had been driving the vehicle prior to them attempting to pull it over near the northbound 5 at the 110 freeway. You can really see it there. That front tire is just gone. So that is why we're seeing all of that smoke there. And we're going to start to see sparks here soon. I guarantee you that. And I know he's missing another tire as well. I don't really see it on this side, so it could be missing from the other side, or it could be that rear tire. It very well could be that rear tire, actually, because that's looking pretty deflated to me. This is the southbound 23 freeway at Tierra Rejada Road here in Moore Park. I'm seeing some construction signs there. I really hope there isn't any construction coming up. If there is, it'd be a little bit early for workers to be out on the road, because usually construction starts later in the night. But you can see that there's cones there in the right lane. So the sergeant was just asking over the police scanner if the officers behind the big rig could confirm how many people are inside, but their response to him was, we can't. At this point, all they know it's just a male driver, but they don't know if he's accompanied by anyone, either in the cab or in the trailer. At this point, it's just simply unclear how many people may be in the vehicle. Coming up to Olson Road here on the southbound 23. And there are Caltrans workers on the shoulder is what I'm hearing. So all of those construction signs that we saw and the cones, it does indicate that there are workers here on the road. I'm hoping they can clear them off the freeway before this guy passes by. There's one construction vehicle. So the vehicle was taken from a yard. So it was taken from a trucking yard, and I'm getting an updated location of where the pursuit started. It did start on the northbound 5, but they're saying it started near Indiana, which is a little bit south of what we were saying before, because we were saying the 110 freeway. I'm now hearing them say that it started a little bit closer to Indiana and the northbound 5, which would place it in East Los Angeles. And what they're saying over the police scanner, and of course that's all preliminary information, but it is what the dispatcher is relaying to the officers on scene, and that is that the pursuit started near the northbound 5 at Indiana and East Los Angeles, and the truck was taken from a yard. Now, just thinking about that area in East Los Angeles, I know that the Commerce train yard is right there, very close by to the northbound 5 at Indiana. So it's a possibility that this could have been a trailer that was in the Commerce train yard because it was taken from a yard somewhere in that area. We're now at Sunset Hills on the southbound 23, where you can see that there is construction in the area. You've got all those cones there. Occupied ×1 is what they're saying now. So they're pretty confident it's just one person inside. And I'm going to push in here on those rear tires. Look at those two last tires here on the driver's side of the vehicle. It looks like those are starting to give. So the officers are on the ground are asking the police dispatcher if there is any way that the trucking company has the capability of remotely turning off the vehicle. Now, you may be familiar with systems like OnStar. They can do that. But in a vehicle like this, to me, it's not something I know whether it's possible to do it on a vehicle of this magnitude, but that is something that the officers are asking the dispatcher to see if she can find out some more information directly from the trucking company and see if that perhaps is a possibility. Because if it is, what they would do is look for a stretch of road where there is nobody else around, where they could simply just kill the engine and bring this pursuit to a stop. It would, of course, bring the vehicle to a stop. It doesn't mean that the guy's going to come out, but it will at least bring the vehicle to a halt. Thank you. So Saro is just relaying to me that they're talking about deploying a spike strip again. But of course, we won't mention exactly where because we wouldn't want the information to get back to the driver and then somehow to cause him to be able to avoid those spike strips. So for that reason, we'll delay mentioning where that spike will be deployed until after he passes by that area. You see people there off to the side of the road. A lot of times people will just pull over because they want to record the pursuit as it goes by them. Ideally, the best thing you can do is just pull over to the right, let the pursuit go by, and then resume the traffic when it's safe to do so. Now we are at Jan's here. It appears to be an uphill climb because he has really slowed down. He's about to lose a lot of tread there on that back tire. I'm going to push in for you so you can watch it happen. Those are the two rear tires on the passenger, or I'm sorry, on the driver's side of the vehicle. There it goes. Let me get out of my doubler there. Okay, now we're entering Thousand Oaks. This pursuit really has covered a lot of land. Started in East LA, made its way north on the 5 freeway into the San Fernando Valley before getting onto the westbound 118 freeway and then transitioning onto the 23 where we find ourselves now here at Hillcrest Drive in Thousand Oaks. There we go. He just ran over the spike. You can actually see it still hanging there just behind the front tire. Directly under the driver door, he's dragging that spike strip now. I don't know that it was effective because he ran over it with a tire that was essentially already gone. But you can. Slowly making that transition there onto the 101. You can see all the smoke that's coming from those tires. There's another tire going. And there it is off to the side of the road. So we're now on the 101 freeway. He made that transition from the 23. You can see some sparks starting to come from those two rear tires. And then as I move this shot over here, I'll be able to show you the spike strip, I believe. There might still be it hanging there. I know he was dragging it before. You can kind of get a look at the fella there. Officers said he was wearing some sort of reflective safety vest, and you can kind of see it here in the shot. And he just turned the light off on me. Yeah, he must be familiar with driving big rigs, because it would be nearly impossible for an average person to just hop in and know where all the buttons are to be able to know how to turn the lights on and off like that. And usually you need a special type of license, of course, to drive big rigs as well. So he very well could be familiar with these big rigs, or he very well might not be, and just happens to be a really good driver, because really his driving has been rather steady, all things considered. He's missing about 3 tires now, and he's been able to maintain pretty good control of the vehicle, and he's missing the front right now as well. Thank you, Saro. So Saro is hearing that the opposite side of what we can't see, basically, because we're on the left side of the vehicle. On the right side, he's also missing that front right tire. So he's missing both of the tires for the cab itself. The tires that he has left are just the ones on the trailer, and even those, some of those are missing as well. But we are now here southbound 101 freeway, also considered eastbound 101. At Lindero Canyon Road in Thousand Oaks. So if we continue in this general direction, it will take us into Westlake Village next. to about 35 miles an hour here at Lindero Canyon Road. And usually 35 miles an hour would be pretty good in a pursuit, because that means that the officers would be able, under most circumstances, if they are pit qualified, they would be able to attempt a pit maneuver. In this case, it's just not going to happen. This vehicle is just too big for them to attempt that. But we did know that they could try spike strips, and we've seen them do that, and they've been quite effective, because now he's missing several of his tires. So hopefully that will help to bring things to an end. Earlier, the dispatcher was also checking to see how much gas the vehicle might have. I did hear that the tank was capable of carrying at least 200 miles, I think. It was capable of going at least 200 miles, but it sounded like it perhaps had more than one tank, because they had additional information for tanks in the back, and I didn't get that. So we know that he can go at least 200 miles, which he's covered quite some territory, because this is a pursuit that started in the East LA area near Indiana, made its way northbound on the 5 into the San Fernando Valley, passing by the 110 freeway, the 2, the 134, the 170, and eventually he transitioned onto the westbound 118 freeway, and then followed by the 23, and now the 101 here in Westlake Village. So Sarah was just telling me that the airship that was here earlier, the one that had to leave for fuel, went and got fuel, and now he is on his way back. And we continue to see more smoke coming from this big rig, who continues to drive on very few tires after running over several spike strips. Number 2 lane here at about 35 to 40 miles an hour. One person inside, described as a man, wearing some sort of safety vest, who is believed to have stolen this big rig from a yard in the East LA area, because that is where the pursuit began, actually, was the northbound 5 at Indiana, which is in East Los Angeles. And he seems to be slowing down quite a bit here. Approaching Chesborough here on the 101 South. At Chesborough now on the southbound 101, also considered eastbound 101 at Agoura Hills. So if we talk about what his next freeway option is going to be, it's going to be the 405. And he'll have the option of going either north or south on the 405 if he gets that far. Of course, he could also exit at any point or just stay on the 101 freeway. If he stays on the 101, the next option is the 170. Oh, there you go, some sparks coming out of the back tires there. So those two rear ones are gone. The next two that I can see still seem to be there. And then just past that is the spike strip that he's dragging. And then apparently the front two are also missing on the actual cab itself. .30. Okay. Airships coming back in. They have visual of the pursuit is what I'm hearing them say. Because they were actually the ones that were calling the pursuit, so they were the ones that were saying where it was coming through. But because they had to pull out for fuel, they gave that responsibility over to one of the lead units. So right now it's one of the patrol units that is calling the chase. And it's always easier if the airship can do it. That way the patrol officers can just focus on the pursuit itself. "101 at Lost Hills. Airship back overhead. You'll see the night sun there. There it is. I was waiting for that so I could show it to you guys. Because we hadn't seen a night sun since the airship left, because there wasn't anyone here to provide one. But now that he's back, he'll be able to light up the vehicle. There we go. And this just helps warn other drivers about the pursuit that is in their area. And then it also helps the ground units in case they lose the vehicle. Although in a situation like this, it'd be pretty difficult to lose this vehicle. You see people there on the overpass trying to get the guy's attention. Wow. That's what happens when pursuits go on for long enough. People get word of them, and they decide they have to see it for themselves, so they'll come out and sometimes even engage with the driver, depending on the situation. "101 at Las Virgenes." Really no traffic to speak of, so that is definitely a good indicator that the officers have been able to clear all of the vehicles surrounding the spake rig. That is something that they wanted to do just to keep everybody else out of the way. And that way it would prevent anyone else from accidentally running over the spike strips that were meant for this guy. So I'm hearing on the scanner that they are notifying Caltrans up ahead about the pursuit that is passing through. That way they can safely move everyone out of the way while this guy passes by. Coming up to Moreau here on the 101. Yeah. So I do want to talk to you guys a little bit about weather and why the airship and us as well, of course, are a little bit concerned about weather. And that is because currently here in the San Fernando Valley, it's clear. So he can literally go anywhere in the valley and weather won't be a factor. However, if he decides to jump on the 405 south, because the 405 is the next freeway coming up, if he goes south on that 405, chances are we're not going to be able to follow him because there is a thick marine layer that has moved in tonight that is just covering the freeway. So chances are we wouldn't be able to see anything. So at this point, if he stays on the 101 or if he decides to go north on the 405, we'll be able to continue to follow him. Our only concern is if he goes south, we're going to have to start to think about weather. Back with you guys. Just want to quickly recap for those of you who are just joining us. I'm Eliana Moreno in News Chopper 4 Alpha, along with my pilot Sarah Garabetian, and we are over the pursuit of a big rig trailer here on the southbound 101 freeway at Parkway Calabasas, in the western end of the San Fernando Valley. This is a pursuit that started in East Los Angeles, though, on the northbound 5 freeway at Indiana when CHP cruisers tried to pull over this big rig that they believe was stolen from a nearby lot. Now, at this point, based off of the information that I've been able to gather on the police scanner, they believe that it is just one person inside, a man who is wearing some sort of reflective vest. Now, why he stole the vehicle, that is unclear. But I can tell you that in the time that they have been pursuing him, he has covered a lot of territory from the northbound 5 freeway to the 118 to the 23, and now where we find ourselves, the 101 freeway. And you'll notice as I push in here that he is actually missing some of his tires. That front tire is very obvious that it is down to the rim, and then those 2 rear tires are also missing. And that is because he ran over some spike strips. And for a time, he was even dragging one of those strips. I think he's been able to dislodge it now, but those spike strips did cause him to lose at least 3 tires on the left side of the vehicle. Hasn't really slowed him down, though. He continues here at about 30 miles an hour, and it really hasn't been a high-speed chase because of the size of the vehicle. The fastest speed I remember seeing was about 65 miles an hour. And for the most part, he's been driving relatively steady, just staying in those center lanes for the most part. And he did go through one construction zone already, but fortunately we didn't see any workers out there tonight. But I do know that there are other construction zones up ahead, like what you see there on this overpass here at Mulholland, actually. Mulholland, and actually that would have been Valley Circle, rather. That would have been Valley Circle there. And there are some construction crews in the area, so Caltrans has been notified that this pursuit is coming their way so that they can clear the workers out of the road. And of course, once he passes by, they can resume their work, but they just want to make sure that all of those people are safe. Yeah. So the spikes affected the left side of the vehicle. The right is, I'm hearing, is pretty much still intact. So on the next time they deploy a spike, they're going to try to focus on the right side of the car. But of course, we won't mention where those will be deployed because we wouldn't want the information to get back to the driver. But once he passes the strips, then I'll point them out for you. So we've got the CHP cruisers behind the car, and then there's also the LA County airship overhead, and the observer, and that is a person who is calling out the streets or the location that the driver is at, so that all of the ground crews can hear that and know his precise location, whether they are in the pursuit or whether they're just in the area. Because there's always, of course, the possibility that he could jump off the freeway and then end up on surface streets. If he does that, it would put him into LAPD's territory if he goes anywhere to the north. Oh, there we go. We have sparks, rather. I'm so set on spike strip. We have sparks flying there from the rear of the vehicle. Going over to Topanga Canyon Boulevard here on the 101 freeway. Heading south or east. Now just looking behind him, I won't move the shot that far, but let me tell you, the drive right behind him on this southbound 101 is very bad. It is extremely slow. As far as I can see, I'm just seeing headlights coming in this direction as you leave the Thousand Oaks area and make your way over towards Woodland Hills. Miles. I'm sorry, 300 gallons was, I think, what he said. But he has covered quite an area here from East Los Angeles all the way into Simi Valley, Moore Park, Thousand Oaks, and now here on the 101 freeway in Woodland Hills. Yeah. I'm hearing that the officers are requesting even more spike strips, so they want to continue to try that method because it has worked to at least get 3 tires out of the picture. The front left tire there, and then the 2 rear left. I'm hearing that the right side of the cab, that tire also has some damage, but the other tires on the right side of the trailer portion of the big rig still appear to be intact. And we're now entering Tarzana. So these are all areas where we have not been during this pursuit because he is not retracing his steps whatsoever. We have not repeated a freeway once. He's stuck to the 5, transition to the 118, to the 23, to the 101, and he has stayed on the 101. So he hasn't got off the freeway at any point or attempted some crazy maneuver on the freeway, like a U-turn, for example. He has just stuck to whatever freeway he's on and transitioned when he could. Now, his choice to get on the 23 from the 118 was pretty much obligated, really, because that's where the freeway came to an end, so he had no choice but to get on the 23, and then the 23 forced him onto the 101. But if he stays on the 101, he can get back to East LA where everything began. It began on the northbound 5 freeway at Indiana, where CHP from the central division of the CHP tried to pull him over, but he failed to yield and the pursuit was on. Hey, you can wait for him to get even with us if you want. He's going about 25 to 30 miles an hour. Now that backup on the 101 is still very heavy. They don't have any freeway lanes shut down, but because they are running a traffic break behind the big rig, and he's going so slow now that it is really backing things up on that 101. So I'm hearing CHP officers say that only the front right is gone on the right side. That's why you saw that one cruiser approach there on the right. He wanted to evaluate the status of the tires on the right side of the vehicle, and he says only the front right is gone. He's still got all of the other tires on the trailer portion of the vehicle. Perfect, thank you. Yeah, they're going to try to focus on the trailer tires on the right side in specific, because that's really what's propelling him forward, because he doesn't have too much support on the left side of the vehicle. And then, oh, there you go. So we've got sparks flying there on the rear left. Yeah. It's about 30. What's he doing? Maybe he thinks he's gonna get that far. We're now 101 at Havenhurst, and that van just got in front of him. I hope he's not trying to get in the way of this pursuit, because that would not be a smart move. We've seen it happen before, unfortunately, where people try to get involved. Yeah, see, that's why the officer in the helicopter is lighting up that van to try to get him to move out of the way. It almost seems like he's trying to run a traffic break in front of the rig. Do not do that. They're going to have a police cruiser go up to this van and tell him to get out of the way, because he is currently interfering. Here you go. Here's the unit moving in. There we go. He just needed a stern warning there to get out of the way, and he did. But in the meantime, Saro was noticing that because the big rig had to slow down so much, he may have trouble getting back up to speed here. But we are continuing 101 at the 405. I want to just look up ahead real quick, because on some of these overpasses, we are getting a crowd of spectators, but we are not going to have another overpass before the 405 freeway. Okay, still eastbound 101. Saro noted that the van is still in play because he sped off real quick, but then is slowing down again. And it almost seems like the person is hanging out the window, trying to take yet another peek. You wonder if they're just trying to get involved and try to bring things to an end, or if they somehow know this person. Regardless, the CHP wants that person to move out of the way and not to get involved with this pursuit. There's the sparks from those rear two tires. You can see that this is an area where you usually have Caltrans workers, but one of the things I heard about on the scanner before was that they were going to notify Caltrans about the pursuit coming their way so that they could clear their workers until the pursuit passes by. Cool. Thank you. there's the van that we were watching before. It just pulled over to the side of the road. I'll show it to you one more time real quick. There it is, and I'm actually hearing the officers want to talk to that person. So they're going to have one unit hang back and talk to the driver of that white van and figure out why they were trying to get involved in this pursuit. Okay, Caltrans has been advised about the pursuit. You see the cones there. They were having an officer go talk to him. Approaching Woodman now here on the 101 freeway. And Caltrans workers have been notified so that they can get out of the way while the pursuit passes by. After it passes by, they can get back to work, but in the meantime, they just need to clear them out to make sure that they're not going to get run over by this person. .101 at Woodman. Okay, there's a Caltrans crew there on the right, on the left rather, while the big rig passes on the right. And you'll notice that there are still some vehicles there in the closure. And some Caltrans workers as well. They were notified though that the pursuit was coming their way. 101 at Coldwater. And I just quickly want to invite you to download our app. If you have a smart television and you would rather continue watching our coverage on your smart TV, you can do that. Just go to Roku, Apple TV, search NBCLA, and you'll be able to find us on there and continue watching our coverage now. And anytime there's any type of breaking news situation, like any other pursuit or brush fire, you can always tune in there to watch us on the big screen. We, of course, thank you very much for your viewership, especially viewers like Armando from Chatsworth or Jeff from Illinois. We thank you very much for your support. Back with you guys here online. So he is in Studio City, the 101 freeway at Laurel Canyon. What we're waiting to see is what he decides to do when he gets to the Cahuenga Pass. If he goes south, then there's lots of fog just south of Universal Studios. So we would only really be able to follow him to that point. But if he continues east or north, then we will be able to continue to follow him. So we'll see what he does. It's a decision that he'll have to make here in just the next few minutes. He may be going south, right? Okay, so yeah, let's see what he does. He's set up to go south through the Cahuenga Pass. But if he decides to continue straight or make the turn towards the north, that will determine a lot for us here. He's in the transition right now, so this will determine if we'll be able to continue to follow him or not based off of the weather. Right now they're setting everything up for him to continue south through the Cahuenga Pass. I hear them changing radios and letting the CHP Central units know that the pursuit is coming this way. Let's see how far he has to go. Okay, cool. You can see that people are gathering on some of the overpasses here, some of the bridges above the 101 freeway to take a look at this pursuit for themselves as it passes under them. And the big rig is continuing here southbound on the 101 freeway through the Cahuenga Pass. So we're actually passing by some of our buildings here at NBC. I'll widen out the shot so you can see where we're at. We're actually right next to Universal Studios. So there's Universal Studios there. So I'm going to move the shot back over to the freeway. And you'll see the big rig pop out there just behind the Sheraton Hotel. But I'm looking out my window, and it is very thick fog through the pass. So we are going to stick with it as long as we can, but there will be a point where we will likely lose him through the fog. Oh, yeah. Correct. It's heading directly into the fog. The fog that is just south of Universal. So once he hits that, we won't be able to follow him. Copy. I'm back with you guys here, continuing here southbound 101 freeway at Highland Avenue. Technically it is considered the Hollywood Hills, but we like to call it the Cahuenga Pass. The pursuit continuing southbound here, right next to Universal Studios with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 patrol units from the California Highway Patrol, in addition to an airship overhead. Speaking of the airship, though, he is going to be facing some of the difficult weather situations that we're going to be looking at here in the next couple minutes, because just directly south of where this big rig is the fog. So you can kind of see it start to get into the shot. And as he proceeds to the south, it's just going to get thicker and thicker and thicker to the point where we're not going to be able to see him. But we know that this is a pursuit that started in East Los Angeles. So just in covering pursuits in the past, we know that drivers tend to return to an area that is familiar to them. So there's the possibility that this big rig trailer may end up somewhere in the East LA area. And we, of course, will continue to monitor the scanner and continue to monitor what the police are saying about the big rig's location. And if by any chance it comes into an area where we don't have this dense fog, we will be able to continue our coverage then. But for now, I'll leave you here with this shot as the big rig is driving into the fog right now at Barham Boulevard, with multiple units of the California Highway Patrol still in pursuit. Thank you very much once again, everyone who tuned in to our coverage. We, of course, have the NBC4 News at 11 o'clock coming up here in less than 30 minutes. We hope you can tune in for that. We will have all of the very latest information from throughout the day, as well as this pursuit here that we are leaving in the Cahuenga Pass for now, but we'll continue to monitor it on the scanners, and if by any chance it gets into an area where we can see it again, we will bring you that coverage live on the NBC4 News at 11 o'clock. Once again, from News Chapter 4 Alpha, I'm Eliana Moreno, along with my pilot, Sarah Garabetian. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you at 11.
Watch more heart-stopping car chases happening across Southern California. Subscribe here. Thanks for watching. The Chase is on.